Um, this session of Azure Power Lunch. Just wanna let everybody know that this call is being recorded and we place our recordings on our YouTube channel. So if you don't wanna be recorded, you may wanna drop off now. And this call is joined by our Microsoft team members as well as members from our customers and partners. So with that, let's get on with our topic of discussion, which is Azure Container Storage Preview. So we're going to talk about this service. We're going to talk about what, why, and how of this service and um, go from there. Just want to mention this before we go on our session. If you're not aware, next week is Microsoft Premier Technology Conference Ignite. And this conference is in person as well as online. So if you want to know about what's next in Azure, infrastructure, app service, apps and infra, data and AI, where everything is heading, uh, please join this conference. The content is link is there, as you can see. Register and join. So just want to mention it if you're not aware of that. That's next week, 15 and 16 online. In person, I think it's one day before. Okay, so here is a quick agenda for our session this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. We're going to talk about Azure Container Storage Preview, and we are going to talk about what are some of the workloads that it suits for demo, and of course, Q&A. Please feel free to ask questions. So first of all, before we even go into the Azure Container Storage, I mean, why you need storage for containers? I mean, as we thought that, okay, containers run your stateless workloads and you spin up a container and it's a microservice and it's not supposed to store anything. But the thing is, as containers are gaining popularity, there are stateful workloads like Kafka, like Postgres. Customers are running those workloads in containers in Kubernetes. And what they need is persistent storage. And there are solutions available at this moment, but most of these solutions are derived from the I shouldn't call it legacy, but they're deriving from the infrastructure as service. So basically, what you're doing is you're attaching disk, you're attaching a file share. That's how you're mounting those um, um, the onto the containers, and they're like um, more of a piecemeal solution where you don't get a holistic um, sense like how you use that storage, and if you and at the same time those storage are mounted when the container is or your pod is created. So let's think about this. You are running an AKS cluster. You set up a application which consists of multiple pods, a type of pods, and one of those pods need to um, attach itself to a or use a persistent volume, and you create a disk, and basically you attach it. All of that happens when you are spinning up the pod. So that actually makes the pod creation a bit delayed as well. Okay, so that's impacts that, and now you have kind of a, as I said, piecemeal solution like this. You may have a file share somewhere. So that's where Azure Container Storage comes into picture. Here, you actually it's first of all, it's based on open standard EBS, Open EBS. This is a storage standard for container storage for Kubernetes. And what it does is use you create it as a native Kubernetes artifact. So basically, you create a storage. First of all, you set up container storage, and then you start creating your storage pools. And you can create different type of storage pools, and you can take a true advantage of underlying block storage. It's not just blob storage you can use. You can use SAN. You can use ephemeral storage. You can use disks. So all of that. Okay, and you can get maximum cost savings. So you don't have to kind of. So let's say that you have a disk, and you can, if you need small chunks of the storage, you can use the same disk. You can just take volumes out of that disk, create volumes out of that disk, and use those. And we will take a look at that example in a few minutes. Okay, so that's that. Um, and at the same time, it, of course, it provides you, the support for backup and recovery and all that. And you will see that it's all access you do is not like you're switching back and forth between a resource manager APIs and Kubernetes. You are basically taking advantage of native Kubernetes API to deal with that storage. Okay, and I think this diagram um, really explains it how this thing works. And I want you to focus on this diagram for a minute on the right hand side. So you have different type of storage. On top of it, you have the abstraction in the form of Azure Container Storage sitting. This is abstracting out what is the underlying store, and that's exposing it to the Azure Kubernetes cluster or managed Kubernetes. And then you have persistent volume claim being created, and they are mounted on the pods. That's how it works, plain and simple. And what you're doing is, since you already have created the storage in advance, mounting on the pod is very quick. So if you are like scaling pods, a number of pods being created, that process will be really fast. So you get the benefit of that. So, and here is what you can use each of the type at this moment. It's in preview. At this moment, there are three types of storage available as a part of Azure Container Storage, or underlying, I should say, underlying storage platform. It's Azure Container Storage, but what is the underlying storage platform? The first one is, of course, Azure Disks. I'm sure you have used Azure Disk before, but this is as a part of Azure Container Storage. And once again, you can use different type of disks, and premium SSD, V2, standard SSD, ultra disk, and that's where it becomes interesting. So you may create different pools. You may have a pool with ultra disk, you may have a pool with premium disk, you may have a pool with premium disk V2, depending on the workloads that you are running in Kubernetes. So definitely that's how you can take advantage of it. On the other hand, with ephemeral disk, I mean, of course, it is, since it's utilizing the local storage, you may want to take advantage of um, uh, for those workloads where you don't need to persist long term. Where you have late sensitive latency sensitive workloads, and where you don't want to do kind of persistence after the kind of workload has ended. So the data durability requirement is different. So that's where you want to do it. Okay. So and just keep in mind that with SAN, you can use Azure Storage SAN as well. Each addresses different workload requirements. So that's where you need to look at and see which works best for your needs. And just keep in mind, Azure Elastic SAN at this moment is still in public preview. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Any questions? Okay. So let's do a quick demo. Okay. First of all, a few things to keep in mind. and I'm gonna take you through the documentation and just wanna mention a few things there. So, just to be on the safe side. Um, Hold on one second. So first of all, let me show you a cluster, and this is my um, resource group in which I have created a Kubernetes cluster, and on which I have set up um, Azure Container Storage. So what you can do is you can take a look at this cluster and see how we are accessing. And this is using the SAN storage. Okay, and there are two ways you can do that. You can create the SAN storage when you are creating the cluster, or you can create it afterwards. But just keep in mind, you need, and I want to show you the node pools first so you get an idea. Um, so you have this node pool, and you need at least three nodes with at least four vCPUs. Just keep in mind, if you are using this, you need at least three nodes with each one of them with at least four vCPU. Okay, so just keep that in mind. If you are planning to use it, this is for preview. Okay, that's that. Second part is, and let's go through the documentation, and I want to show you here a few things. So first of all, make sure that you have these extensions installed. And when I meant by it, make sure that they have the latest version of these extensions, because these are the extensions which are bringing to life Azure Container Storage. If those extensions are not there, your it will not work. So make sure. Without saying, please upgrade to the latest Azure CLI, because that will be needed. And then you need to set the subscription, set the resource provider, and um, and I want to show you this command here. Um, this one. So this is basically, and let's di kind of dissect this command in Notepad. So you can go in here, paste in Notepad, and just keep in mind that, as you can see, this is, you are creating a cluster. And what you're doing in that cluster, you are, while you are creating the cluster, you are enabling uh, um, container storage, and you need to set up a pool type. And what is a pool type? Pool type can be any one of these things. It can be Azure Disk, Ephemeral Disk, and Elastic SAN. So any of these. Okay. And you can set up the pool size, otherwise it will use the default value, or pool options, things like that. All of that. Just okay. If you are just copying, pasting commands from here, I hit a strange issue where it copies some what we call non-printable character, and that caused the command to fail. Okay, so I will suggest copy it in a notepad and then probably type with the hand. And for some reason, I could not figure it out that it caused the the command to fail. Okay, so that's that. Second part is, once you run the command, either you create a new cluster with Azure Container Storage, or you have an existing cluster where you deploy Azure Container Storage. In both cases, it will take 10 to 15 minutes to provision that. So just be patient and wait for the container storage to be available. So for example, once that is available, then what you can do is you can go in and check on what are the storage pools that are available. So let's go in here, and so for example, we can open a reset it. Okay, no worries. I was doing. Oh, come on. Okay, let me just use a Cloud Shell. Give me 1 second. Yeah, that's good. So let me. Okay, so basically, I was playing with this, so that's why my container, I was connected to that cluster, so all of that was there. As you can see, there is a storage pool set up, and it is based on Elastic SAN, all that stuff. Got it? So that's once you, this is when you are creating a cluster, and at that moment, you're creating the simultaneously your storage and storage pool. So once you do that, then you can start, chopping off, the uh, persistent volume claim, and attaching it to the pod. That you can do that. Okay. So let's now take a look. By the way, any questions so far? Okay. So I have another demo where I have set up another cluster. Let me reconnect here. Okay, so I have set up another cluster, and where I would like to show you, and let's go back here. Let me just move this screen over there, where I would like to show you another persistence volume that I have set up. So let me go in here and do, okay, just typing. So here I have set up another storage pool. This storage pool, if you can see here, is based on an Azure disk. And I want to show you something interesting. Since I based on Azure disk, if we go to the container, so let me first go to the resource group. This is my container. And if I go to the container resource group, as you know, that there is always a container resource group whenever you create a Kubernetes resource group whenever you create a Kubernetes cluster. So if you go over there, that's what it is. It has created a disk. So what I have done is I have provisioned a and as just to take a step back, as I told you, I always follow the examples in the document, so you can follow that as well, so everybody can. So I'm not doing something that is kind of different. I have followed this example to create a storage pool. The size is 1 TB, and look what we have here. Let's go into that disk. And what is the size of that disk? It's a 1 TB disk. So it has created that storage pool and container storage behind the scene. And now what we can do is we can create persistent volume and persistent volume claim on top of it. And so the point is, instead of creating this piecemeal with each node, with each pod, now we can have this abstraction where we can create multiple volumes based on the top of a single disk and attach to different containers. Okay, and so that's that. Okay. So what we're gonna do is um, we are going to create another persistence volume, and then we are gonna create a container and attach to it. Okay. So let's do that. So just to show you how how we can do it in using this particular storage tool. And while we are doing it, any questions? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so first of all, what we are gonna do, we are gonna create a um, we are going to create a persistent volume claim. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna change it to 3. Okay, this is 3, and this is another claim that we are creating. That's let's save it, and let's quit, and let's run this thing. Somebody has a question. Oops, I ran the wrong one. Let me. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we do that. PV C02. Okay, so now it has created the claim Azure Disk PVCV3. So it created that claim, and now what we can do is we can use it in a pod to do that. So let's do that pod now and use this claim. So pod. So now we're just gonna go in and use that particular claim. And folks, just keep in mind that you may want to check if that claim is ready or not. So once we finished editing that file, we're going to take a look. Oh, by the way, we will name this pod 03. So let's do that. Let's save this and let's quit. And then what we can do is we can check if that how that particular volume is doing. So as you can see, that status is pending because it's not attached to anything. And once we run this pod, then it will attach to that pod. So let's run this pod. We're gonna do pod YAML, and it's gonna say it has created that pod. And let's describe that pod, like what it is doing. Okay, so it's scheduled. So it's the pod is running. So just think about it. We have we created the storage. And by the way, the reason I did not create it while in this session, it takes a long time. It's a 30-minute session and it takes 15 minutes to create it. So it's kind of just showing you like how the cake is baked and showing the baked cake. So that's the reason. But in any case, it's running. So what we're gonna do now is run a quick command on it and see to make sure that this thing is running. So give me 1 second. Let me just, what we're going to do is we're going to run a quick file IO test on this pod just to prove out that yes, this pod is there and it is running and it's doing what it's supposed to do. So where is the Here it is. Name 03. So we are gonna run it against 03, run it, and it's starting an IO test. So my point is, just to kind of reiterate that now, as you can see here, we can run this entire thing end to end with persistence, volume, claim, everything just like we do in a native AKS through this Azure Container Storage abstraction. You can use SAN, Azure Virtual SAN. You can use Azure Disk. You can use ephemeral disk, whatever you think that your uh, workload needs, and go from there. You know. So we have 2 more minutes. Any questions? Okay, so I just want to do a quick recap. And let's quickly go back to the slide deck. So Azure Container Storage, I'm just going to go to this slide. Azure Container Storage is a preview service right now, currently in preview, which provides you container storage as a service to be used by Azure Container and manage Kubernetes clusters. The goal of this service is to hide the underlying backing store. You can use different type of backing store and provide you the ability so you can quickly spin up pod without mixing, ARM related constructs with Kubernetes construct. You work with native Kubernetes constructs, so you can pods can spin up quickly, and it allows you to take full advantage of the underlying storage, whatever storage that you are using, and you can, depending on your workloads, you can customize which storage you want to use and which you want to can kind of want to take advantage of. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Any with 1 minute remaining, feel free to ask if you have any questions. If there are no questions, I will give everybody their 1 minute back, and hope to see you in another session of Azure Power Lunch. And thank you very much.